Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to be doing my 2024 presidential election prediction with the Trump mugshot effect. And basically, if Trump were to be convicted of, the crimes that he has apparently committed, allegedly, that will all be in effect in this video. So this is based off of a basically Trump best case scenario. Basically, this video is based off of if his mugshot and his viral mugshot, and if he were to be convicted, basically, and if they were to help him in a positive way, if they were to affect him in a positive way, we're going to be factoring that in this video. So that's going to be factored in my prediction. So basically, this is not your regular 2024 presidential election prediction. This is actually based off if Trump were to be convicted scenario, what the 2024 election would look like. And basically, with Trump's viral mugshot, that's going to be a factor in today's video. So basically, this is kind of a Trump best case scenario. If his mugshot does end up helping him out, we're going to be putting that in this video. So this is not an actual official prediction. This is basically a Trump best case scenario, and basically the mugshot effect, and if it does help him. So let's start off with, we can get a few states out of the way. Likely states are Iowa for Trump, Ohio for Trump. I think on Ohio issue 1, will that really help Joe Biden heading into 2024? Probably not. It's still going to be likely for Trump. Obviously, the Ohio issue 1 went in Democrats' favor in Ohio, but it's still the state of Ohio. It's still a red state, so I don't think that should be too much affecting it. You're actually probably wondering, why do I have Hawaii likely and not safe for Biden? Is because I feel like some Hawaii voters will realize that what happened with Biden's response to the fires in Maui, it might turn off some support for Biden and go into Trump's favor. That's why I have Hawaii likely for Biden instead of safe. But I think Hawaiians are still going to vote for Biden, even though they don't like his response to the fires. I still think it'll be a little bit closer. So that's why I have Hawaii likely. And then likely states for Biden will be Colorado, New Mexico. Even in a Trump best case scenario, and even if the mugshot, and even if he is convicted, does end up boosting Trump's overall support, I still think Colorado and New Mexico will be likely for Biden. Hillary Clinton won them, and as long as Hillary Clinton can win those states, I think Joe Biden can definitely win those states with a likely margin. Second congressional district will be likely for Donald Trump as well. And also, the state of Virginia could be likely to lean, arguably lean, but I'm just going to leave it in likely for Biden. Even if the mugshot does end up helping Trump, I still think Virginia will be a likely state. And, considering the fact that Glenn Youngkin, the Republican, is Virginia's governor, governor's races are vastly different from the general election. So I don't think those two really, match up well together. So I'm going to leave that in the Virginia in the presidential election. Presidential level will be likely for Biden, but on the governor's side, obviously that's vastly different. They still might vote in Glenn Youngkin, so we'll see what happens in Virginia in 2024. And now, moving on to the lean states, we got the likely states out of the way. And in a Trump best case scenario, and if these, if the mugshot does backfire, which at this point things can change, but at this point the mugshot does look like it is backfiring and exploding in the Dems' faces. So as long as it continues to backfire as it is right now. Also, I forgot one likely state, Florida. It could arguably be safe, but honestly, Donald Trump did not win it with a likely margin or safe margin in 2020. So I cannot have Florida safe so far, but it is pretty much likely considering Ron DeSantis' successful victory around 20 percentage points. Florida is a lost cause at this point for Democrats, and it is going to continue to swing for Republicans in Trump's favor in 2024. And I don't think Florida will be competitive at all. I think the Florida Democratic Party is just an utter disaster, and Florida Democrats just don't know how to run their candidates. Charlie Crist got destroyed by Ron DeSantis. As long as that continues to happen, Trump should run that state easily. So now we really have the likely states out of the way. I don't have any other likely state to add. Be leaning for Donald Trump. You can argue it's likely, but it is a state that, as long as, immigration is a factor, Texas should, in the future, actually go to the Democrats and in a future election, maybe in the early 2030s or maybe late 2030s, I would suggest that Texas does end up flipping in the Senate, probably around late 2020s, 2028, or maybe early 2030s, 2032. That's when Texas Senate race would flip. And then if you were to ask me when would Texas's flip on the general election side instead of the Senate, I would say probably 2036. And the governor's race, I think, is probably the reddest part of Texas's races. The governor's race is probably the reddest part, so that will probably not flip until like a year 2040 maybe. So, but overall, Texas is still a very red state. But as long as immigration is a factor or an issue, Texas should flip sometime soon. But I don't think 2024 will be the year Texas does flip, considering the fact that the mugshot, and if Trump is convicted in a scenario, we're putting that scenario in this video. So basically, Trump-esque scenario, if Trump does be convicted and he still is allowed to run, I definitely think that backfiring will definitely keep Texas in Trump's favor. So 2024 will not be the year Dems flip Texas, probably later in the future, not 2024. Now, another lean state for Biden this time, I think, will probably be the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a very pro-choice state, and as long as Trump is pro-life, he's probably not going to win New Hampshire. I think the closest Trump could have gotten to winning New Hampshire is probably in 2016, and he didn't even win it in 2016. So, pro-life candidates typically in a pro-choice state tend not to do well. So with that being said, I think New Hampshire is going to lean for Joe Biden. Biden will probably win New Hampshire in 2024 by around 4 to 5 percentage points. He won it back in 2020 by around 7 to 8 points, so I think he should win it a little bit closer this time, maybe 4 to 5 percentage points, a lean margin. Not too shabby for Biden. Definitely not going to win it as much as he did in 2020, because this 2024 is a year that should favor Trump. So yeah, like I mentioned, pro-life candidates in a pro-choice state typically do not do well, and that's New Hampshire specifically. So I think that should go to Biden. I don't think a pro-choice state will go to a pro-life candidate. That's just not how it works. So New Hampshire should go to Biden in 2024, but not with the margin in 2020. A little bit closer this time. So now another lean state for the Biden campaign. I think Joe Biden should win Minnesota with a lean margin, considering a best case scenario for Trump. And if a scenario where the mugshot does backfire, I think Minnesota should be closer than it was in 2020. But I just don't think Minnesota's Republican Party or Minnesota's GOP is just that strong. I just think Democrats really have Minnesota locked in on the governor's race, on the Senate-wise. General election in Minnesota is probably going to be much closer than the Senate or governor's race in Minnesota, but still, I just don't see Trump flipping Minnesota. I just don't see it happening, so it should lean for Joe Biden. Closer than 2020, obviously. I think Minnesota should go to Biden by around 5 percentage points in 2024. And another lean state in a scenario where the mugshot does backfire, I think Michigan will still lean for Joe Biden. He won it by around 2.5 points. In 2020, I think he should win it with around the same margin. Michigan's GOP, or Michigan's Republican Party, is just an utter disaster. Basically, Michigan's Republican Party does not know how to run candidates, and I don't even think they have candidates to run. And if they do have candidates, those candidates, no one even knows who they are. They just have no popularity, no name recognition. So as long as the Michigan Republican Party continues to be an utter disaster, Trump's probably not going to win it, even in a Trump-esque case scenario. I just don't see Michigan flipping from blue to red. I just think Biden pretty much has that state in. No, I'm not saying it's not going to be close. It's probably going to be decided within 1 to 2 points. But I think Michigan should go to Biden by around 2 percentage points. Joe Biden could possibly get more of a margin than he did in 2020, but I don't see it happening, considering Joe Biden's popularity is just so low. But I do have to say that it is factual that low approval ratings tend to negatively affect Republicans more than it does to Democrats. So if a Republican had a lower approval rating, it would negatively affect the Republican more than it does to the Democrats. So if you have a Republican with a low approval rating and a Democrat with a low approval rating, the Republican is probably going to get hit hard more with the lower approval rating. So lower approval rating matters more to Republicans than it does. It negatively affects Republicans more than it does to Democrats. So, Biden has a low approval rating, but Trump does too. And I think lower approval ratings hurt Republicans more. then it matters to Democrats. So Obama had a low approval rating, and guess what? He still won pretty much in a landslide to Mitt Romney. So you see these Democrats with low approval ratings, but they still tend to win. For example, Barack Obama, like I just mentioned. And so I do think low approval ratings tend to hurt Republicans more than it does to Democrats. Not saying Joe Biden should be not worried about his approval rating. He definitely should, but I'm just saying it hurts Republicans more than it does to Democrats. So state remaining will be either tilt blue or tilt red. So let's begin for the tilt states with Nevada. Now, looking at if Trump is convicted in a scenario where it does backfire and explodes in Dems' faces, I do expect Nevada to flip from blue to red. Now, Nevada is a state that up north, northern Nevada, is extremely Republican. I've been there. I've been to a bathroom in northern Nevada, and it had, anti-Biden graffiti. I mean, that's just one example, but there's many more. This is a state where they just recently elected a Republican governor, so Nevada is shifting towards the right. Now, Nevada is a state that loves Republican governors, but loves Democratic senators, as you saw in the 2022 midterms, for example. They elected a Democratic senator, but a Republican governor. Now, what would they do on the general election side? Nevada does tend to vote Democrat, but this is a year, 2024, a different year from 2020, a different year from 2016. And this, by the way, this is a scenario where the mugshot does backfire. I think it should hype Republicans, and if they do get their turnout, I do expect Nevada to slightly flip. About a percentage point. I think Trump could win it by even less than a percentage point. That's how close I think Nevada will be. So no matter who wins Nevada, whether it's Biden or Trump, that winner is probably going to win it by less than a percentage point. If Biden wins Nevada, he's probably winning that thing by less than a percentage point. If Trump wins Nevada, he's probably winning Nevada by less than a percentage point. That's how, no matter who's the winner, they're going to win it by under a percentage point. That's how close I think Nevada will be. So that should be till R in a scenario. By the way, this is not my official prediction, but this is more of like a Trump favored scenario. If the mugshots and if he is convicted scenario does backfire, you probably would expect Nevada to flip. Now, if the mugshots don't backfire, then Nevada probably won't flip. But this is, like I mentioned earlier, this is a scenario that if they do backfire, which it is looking like that right now. And obviously Trump made his first tweet on Twitter in more than 2 years. And his first tweet was about his mugshot. So Trump is taking his mugshot forward as an advantage. So, yeah, mugshot is backfiring. And as long as that continues to happen, Nevada might flip from blue to red. So now, moving on from Nevada, let's take a look at the Rust Belt. I expect Wisconsin to flip in a scenario where the mugshot does backfire, and if he were to be convicted, if his conviction does backfire and it does explode in the Democrats' faces, I expect Wisconsin to flip. Wisconsin, keep in mind, is a state that Joe Biden narrowly won. Joe Biden almost lost this state. He won it by 0.6% to be exact. So, considering the fact that Joe Biden narrowly hung on to the state of Wisconsin, that tells you that in a year of 2024, it could possibly go to Donald Trump. And this is a state that Donald Trump won in 2016. So with that being said, I don't think Trump is the most popular candidate in Wisconsin, but I would suggest that they do favor Trump over Biden slightly, a lot of these independent voters. So polls are already suggesting that Biden is not going to do well with independent voters, so as long as that continues to happen, Wisconsin could flip. And, considering the fact that the mugshot does backfire scenario, or taking that scenario as a factor in this video specifically, Wisconsin could flip. And now, Pennsylvania. I mean, considering the fact that the mugshots do backfire, Pennsylvania could possibly flip, but considering the fact that what happened in the 2022 midterms, that really blew up in Republicans' faces. John Fetterman won when he should have lost. Republicans were making fun of him, and yada yada yada, and he still won. Josh Shapiro destroyed the Republican candidate, and when that happened, I knew that Biden would probably win it in 2024. Now, Biden's margin when he won Pennsylvania in 2020 was very little, so considering that fact that Joe Biden barely won it in 2020, Trump could definitely win Pennsylvania. But even in a scenario where the mugshot does backfire, I still kind of think that it's going to tilt for Biden by around under 1%, maybe a percentage point. And not saying that Donald Trump can't win Pennsylvania. He definitely can, as he did in 2016. So, but as of right now, things can change. But as of right now, for now, I do expect Pennsylvania to tilt for Biden. And if Biden loses Pennsylvania, he's more than likely losing the entire election. So, and now moving on to the state of North Carolina, I think North Carolina is going to tilt for Donald Trump. He won it in 2016. He won it in 2020. I think he should win it for the third time in a row. I think, considering the fact that Joe Biden lost North Carolina in a more favorable year for Democrats in 2020, I can tell you right now, Joe Biden is not going to win North Carolina, especially in 2024. And considering the fact that the mugshots do backfire scenario, and if Trump were to be convicted, and a scenario where he does be convicted, and if that does backfire, and he still is allowed to run, then I can tell you right now, North Carolina is remaining for Donald Trump's. And the last two states, I do think Georgia will flip from blue to red. Joe Biden narrowly won it. He almost lost in 2020, so I do expect that to flip back to Donald Trump. And Brian Kemp won by around 7%. So as long as Donald Trump does good with the Brian Kemp voters, which he didn't in 2020, but if he does in 2024, he should win. And I don't think Trump wins Arizona in 2024, but like I said, this video is a scenario where the mugshots do backfire, so as long as they continue to backfire, Arizona could possibly flip to Trump. So if that does happen, Trump wins 278 to Joe Biden's 260. Now, thank you everyone for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in a scenario where the mugshots do backfire. And let me know what you think about this map. And don't forget to subscribe, as we are approaching 500 subscribers. Thank you for watching.